The Vikings were not men who feared blood, storms, or death. They burned cities, shattered armies, and carved their names into history with iron and fire. Across Europe, their longships were a symbol of terror. But beyond the edge of the known world, past the cold Atlantic, the Vikings encountered something they did not expect, a people who would not fall. And for the first time, the Vikings would retreat. Around the year 1000 AD, Norse explorers led by Leif Erikson crossed the Atlantic and reached a land they called Vinland, in modern-day North America. The sagas describe a fertile place, forests, rivers, and open land, perfect for settlement. The Vikings built camps, houses, and prepared to claim the land as they had done elsewhere. But they were not alone. The Norse soon encountered indigenous peoples they called Skrælings, a term meaning outsiders or barbarians. These were likely ancestors of the Dorset, Thule, or early Inuit peoples. At first, the meetings were cautious. Trade occurred, furs exchanged for iron tools, but tension simmered beneath the surface. Then came the violence. The Skrælings did not fight like European armies. They struck suddenly, using the land as a weapon. They appeared in large numbers, attacking from forests and shorelines. Their weapons, bows, spears, and stones, were simple, but their tactics were deadly. The Vikings, used to open field combat and intimidation, found themselves ambushed again and again. Norse sagas recount warriors falling, panic spreading, and settlements under constant threat. Even armed with iron swords and shields, the Vikings were outnumbered and far from home. There were no reinforcements, no quick escape. The land that once promised riches became a trap. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Vikings made an unthinkable decision. They did not conquer. They did not adapt. They left. Vinland was abandoned. The warriors who terrorized Europe had met a people they could not dominate, and the unknown had won. The failure of the Vikings in Vinland was not caused by cowardice, poor leadership, or weak warriors. It was caused by something far more dangerous, a people who refused to submit. The Skrælings were not an empire, not a kingdom, and not a standing army. Yet they possessed the one advantage that even the fiercest invaders cannot overcome: absolute control of their land. The Vikings were masters of fear. In Europe, the sight of their longships was often enough to break resistance before swords were drawn. But in Vinland, fear did not spread. The Skrælings did not flee. They watched. They waited. When they struck, they did so on their own terms. They fought without banners or battle lines. Attacks came from forests, shorelines, and darkness. Arrows fell without warning. Spears struck and vanished. The Vikings could not predict their enemy, could not pursue them, and could not intimidate them. Every step beyond the settlement felt like walking into a trap. Numbers played a crucial role. The Norse settlers were few: men, women, and children trying to survive in an unfamiliar world. The Skrælings were many, mobile, and united. Even the Vikings' iron weapons, once symbols of dominance, became burdens. Armor slowed them. Shields meant little when danger came from every direction. More devastating than the weapons was the psychological collapse. Viking culture was built on reputation. Victory meant survival. Defeat meant shame. In Vinland, there were no victories to boast of, only constant fear, exhaustion, and loss. The sagas speak carefully of this period, avoiding details, softening language, but silence is often history's loudest confession. There were no reinforcements coming, no allies to call upon. Winter approached, supplies dwindled. Every night carried the possibility of attack. The land that once promised timber, food, and glory became a prison of uncertainty. The Vikings realized a truth they had never faced before. Conquest requires more than strength. It requires submission from the conquered, and the Skrælings would never submit. So the unthinkable happened. The longships were prepared. Settlements were dismantled. The dream of Vinland was abandoned, not in defeat alone, but in recognition of reality. The Vikings chose survival over pride. They sailed back across the Atlantic, carrying with them a story they would rarely tell. Vinland vanished from Norse ambition. No second invasion came. No revenge followed. The land was left to its people. History celebrates conquerors, but it is resistance that draws the true line. The Vikings mastered fear until they met a people who felt none. Vinland reminds us that power has limits, and no weapon is stronger than unity, home, and the will to stand firm. Even legends must sometimes turn back.
Narrativia, where words weaves wonders.
Like, share, and follow for more.
This content was generated with the assistance of artificial intelligence for storytelling, narration, and visual presentation purposes. While care has been taken to provide an engaging and informative experience, some elements may be dramatized or simplified. The video is intended for entertainment and general educational use only. Viewers are encouraged to enjoy the presentation and independently verify facts, conduct their own personal research, and form their own conclusions. The creator assumes no responsibility for interpretations or actions taken based on this content. Thank you.